Well, hello, everybody. Woohoo! Yes, y'all. I'm so excited about tonight. Tonight's gonna be fire. I don't care what you got to say. I don't care what you're doing, but you need to stop what you're doing. Share with your friends. Let everybody know that we are in the building. I'm so glad that you're joining me tonight. Welcome to the show. This is Conversations with Deborah Franklin. But tonight we got a special treat for you. We got special guests in the house. I have someone that is taking over my show tonight, y'all. Taking over my show. Because they were like, I got to do this. She gonna come on live. But first of all, y'all know how we open up every show. Tonight, I wanted to just tell you that if it is in you, it is time for you to do it. You have got to start standing up and showing out for who you are, because you have been created for greatness. You have been created for this. You are destined for this. Stop talking yourself out of it. Stop talking yourself out of anything that you want to do. If God has given you a vision, it is time for you to activate it. It is time for you to show up like never before. Because remember, your voice is what someone else needs to hear. Your voice is who will be able to help someone else get over that threshold, get into their winning season. We need to end this year strong. Whoever needs to jumpstart their life, you need to jumpstart it tonight. You need to jumpstart and be who you are. You need to jumpstart everything. If you need to start just jumping up and down like, and just start convincing yourself, it's time for you to jump into that next level. Because when you know who you are and whose you are, you will jump into the next phase of your life. You will jump into the next phase of your life. You will what? Jump into the next phase of your life, because you are created for this, you are destined for this, and you are going to show up and show out, because God did not take any time to make somebody that wasn't ready to produce. All you got to do is say yo yes. Now, saying yo yes does not mean it's going to be easy. Saying yo yes does not mean that it's going to be, girl child, it's going to be ice cream every day. It's not. Just don't get discouraged when those distractions come. Don't just get discouraged because God's giving you a vision and you're trying to figure out, oh God, my bank account don't look like what you're showing me. My friends don't look like what you're showing me. My circle does not look like what you're showing me. Don't let that discourage you. Your job in this time is to make sure you are prepared. So when that door opens, you are ready to walk in with all power, all knowledge, and doing it to the best of your ability. And most of all, show up as your authentic self. You got to show up and be the you that you are. Yeah, I mean that. Be the you that you are. You can't be anybody else. Yes, it's okay to look at other people to get ideas about how they're doing something, how you want to do it. You might say, hey, I like purple, but the shade of purple that I use might not be the shade that you're going to use. It's okay. Be you and be okay with being you, because now people don't want fake and phony. People don't want you just showing up. They want to know who the real you is. And I mean it. They want to know who are you authentically. I say this all the time. Matt can only do so much. But if the inside is all jacked up, the outside gonna be jacked up too. So when you work on you and showing up as you and learning everything about your craft, I'm trying to tell you, you ain't got nowhere to go but up. Nowhere to go but where? Up. It is time for you to go all the way up, all the way up, all the way up, and do what you know that you are supposed to do. Because when we do that, we're going to capture the hearts of millions. And I'm speaking this to you. You will capture the hearts of millions. If your goal is to be a millionaire, you're going to make it. If your goal is to be a billionaire, you're going to make it. If your goal is to preach on multiple stages, you're going to do it. If your goal is to speak to the nations, you're going to do it. If your goal is to be able to clothe 1,000 people, you're going to do it. If your goal is to be able to feed 1 million people, you're going to do it. If your goal is to sell 1,000 books, you're going to do it. If your goal is to be an Amazon bestseller, you're going to do it. If your goal is to be a New York Times bestseller, you're going to do it. If whatever you set your mind to do, you can do it, because if God has showed it to you, he can't help but take you through it. And that's the thing. We got to start increasing our faith level. When we increase our faith level, there is nothing on this earth, nothing in hell that can take us from it. So if nothing else, y'all, what I need you to know tonight is that you are destined for greatness. You are destined to make it to that next level. Don't get your eyes off the prize and go forth and do the doggone thing. Do the doggone thing, because you were created for this. Well, all right, y'all, I'm done. I'm bringing the girl up who is going to be co-hosting and really hosting this show, because I'm getting ready to drop down and let her do her own thing. Let me bring her up. Her name is none other than Miss Shamira. She's Miss Shamira.
Hi, Deborah. Thank you so much for having me on your platform to co-host your show.
Really taking over. You're not really co-hosting. You really taking over my show.
Oh, I'm taking over. I'm going to be Miss Deborah tonight. Okay. I got you.
Y'all, this girl is going to be the host for tonight. She's getting ready to launch her own show. So I told her, for your first episode, let me make it where you can be comfortable. Let me make it so you can just concentrate on the show. See, this is what we do when we want to help and our sisters go up. When we want to help our sisters go to that next level, we let them do what they do, but do it in a safe place. So y'all get ready, sit back. I'm getting ready to turn this show over to her. All right, Shamira, it's on you.
All right. Well, hi, everybody. My name is Shamira Smith. I am the owner of Beauty in the Mirror, which is a life coaching company that equips broken women and men with the tools to become whole. I am also a 3-time author, and I just launched my current memoir titled Beauty in the Mirror. And you can get my book at www.beautyinthemirror, mirror spelled MIRAH.com. But enough about me. I want to bring on my awesome guest, the author, speaker, movie producer, Miss Bobbye Wager.
Hello, Mr. Mira. Thank you for having me. How are you?
I am great. Thank you for being here. You look beautiful.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yes, so Bobbye, you are just such an awesome person. So tell us, or tell the viewers, a little bit about Bobbye Wager.
Absolutely. Again, my name is Bobbye Wager. Like you, I just finished my memoir, Life Under the Pink Canopy. You can find that at www.lifeunderthepinkcanopy.com or Barnes and Noble. I also am like you said, a movie producer. A few years ago, I wrote and produced and directed, videography, a documentary film called The Pink Canopy, which highlights my mom. She was a school teacher who had a mental breakdown. So the film goes over how we, as her children, adjusted to her illness and how we learned to cope. So with that movie, I took it literally around America to encourage people, enlighten them about mental health, letting them know they're not alone, connecting people with mental health organizations. And from that, after telling that story, I'm finally telling my story, because I wasn't led at the time to sit in front of the camera and interview myself, how my mom's illness affected me, until now, which is in the book. I have one daughter who's in grad school at the University of Chicago. And yeah, I relocated to Tennessee. And what else? Yeah, that's about it. I just had my book launch last weekend in Houston.
That is awesome. And congratulations. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You mentioned, Bobbye, that you wrote your book And you talk in your book about your mom, and she had a mental breakdown. Would you, and
Yes.
how it affected you? Would you mind speaking about that to the guests and let us know about her breakdown and how it affected you?
Absolutely. So 1966, my mom had a mental breakdown, and she was diagnosed, which is now called bipolar. But back then it was manic depressive disorder.
Okay.
And for the next, from 66 to 1970, she was treated with electric shock treatments, 95 to be exact. And in my research, she had actually 6 sessions of the electric shock treatment, but I counted each shock as one electric shock instead of the whole treatment. It was 95. She was subjected to different type of psychotropic drugs. So, needless to say, my father left the family. She lost her career as an educator in Iowa, and we were displaced. We, meaning my brothers and I, were displaced. Like it seems like 3 or 4 times each year for the next 10, 12 years. So that affected me as a child. It would, and then on the other side, when years later, after they found a treatment for her sickness, we became stable. And years later after that, I wanted to tell her story, not only to help others, but help my brothers and I, because we lived in chaos all the time, or we lived in survival mode. So we didn't take the time to get help for ourselves. And that what I call residue or unaddressed trauma showed up in our lives. So that's why I wanted to turn around and have my brothers talk about it, because talking about it is a part of healing. So I got them on camera, sat them down, and so I'm helping thousands of families with Mom's story.
That is so awesome. So you mentioned that you guys were displaced and then you became stable. So at some point, did you go back with your mother?
Yes. So
Okay.
when she was, let me go back a little bit. So when she was hospitalized, that's when we were displaced. And displaced, we went to go live with family members or my friends. After she was treated for months, weeks, she would come back, and after she was discharged, she would come back and restart her family again. So we were with Mom, but she wasn't always well.
Right. That is such an awesome story. And viewers, stay tuned. We will be right back after this quick commercial. All right, so we are back, and Bobbye was just in the middle of talking about her book, which is titled Under the Pink Canopy, and her experience with trauma due to her mom having a mental breakdown. And let's just finish the conversation, Bobbye. So after your mom came from being hospitalized, you guys were stable, you got back with her. Would you mind speaking on a little bit of the trauma that it caused you, along the way, and what steps did you have to take to heal from that trauma?
Sure. I witnessed my mom when she was in her psychosis or psychotic episode. She would be committed forcibly by the sheriff's department into the hospital. So as a little girl, I seen that, and that was traumatic. Taken by force by police like a common criminal, that was traumatic. Also, what was traumatic for me was just in and out of homes, leaving your neighborhood, leaving friends, leaving your adobe, your home, leaving my brothers, because we didn't all go to our families together. So I was always by myself, and my brothers, they went together with somebody else. So all that was traumatic for me. And you don't know how traumatic it is because you're in it. It happens so much. You think this is normal until you grow up, until you evaluate yourself against other friends, other families. And I realized I need to sit down and get some help. So that's when, but I didn't get the help until, man, that's probably in my late 20s.
Wow.
So
what
that
made you,
unaddressed trauma reared
right.
its ugly head. Yes.
Wow, you are so strong and your story is so powerful. So what made you want to confront that pain? And also, what made you want to confront that pain, and what steps did you take to
Sure.
confront that pain?
Well, what made me confront the pain? I was married and I had a daughter, and I realized part of my trauma response, or part of what I was used to, was moving all the time, because that's how I grew up. We was never stable. And I realized as my daughter was growing up, I would move from across the city to across the country. And this is before she was in school. So when she became school age, I had to become stable, right? But how can I become stable when I didn't know? I didn't see it in front of me. I didn't see it displayed in front of me. So I'm like, I can't keep moving. That's not fair to her. I'm giving her trauma. I'm giving her my trauma. So that made me stop, turn around, and confront these issues. Was my daughter, and also number two, I was giving up opportunities, like meaning job opportunities or relationships, because of the trauma. I was forfeiting them because I didn't know how to stay and process certain things. When it got tough, Bobbye ran. That's all I knew how to do. Exactly. So it was to my daughter. I didn't want to give her my residue that I was given. And two, I was messing up opportunities, like I said, relationships. I wanted to grow. I wanted to be a different Bobbye. And so that made me turn around and get the help. And the help was seeking my faith, reading the word of God, sitting down in front of a counselor, right? And being honest with myself.
Right.
And it hurt. It hurt to confront those issues, to turn around and peel back the scab, to get into that sore and put that medicine on it so it can heal better.
Absolutely. And thank you, Tracy. She said Bobbye's story can help many people, and I appreciate her for sharing. Yes, Bobbye, your story is very, very inspiring. So you said when times got tough, Bobbye ran. So as we see, fight or flight. So today, Bobbye is a speaker, an author, and a movie producer. So at some point, Bobbye stopped running. So my question to you is, what made you write a memoir instead of an autobiography? And also, what inspired you to, well, I know you did mention, your daughter, and you didn't want her to experience the same trauma. So what made you write the memoir and stop running? Truth.
Say that last part again.
What made you write the memoir and stop running and face your truth, so much so that you're able to write a memoir and inspire other people?
I realized that I've been through so much, and I realized that when I wrote my mom's story, that was healing for me. And I knew my story would help other people. But I researched the difference between an autobiography and a memoir. Autobiography, the author tells the whole life story. I didn't want to divulge that just yet. So I looked up the memoir, and the definition was an author just shares parts of their life or certain events with the hope of encouraging somebody, giving the tools they use to come out of traumatic events. And then also, I want to let people know they're not alone. So I had to go back over my life and realize what was the most traumatic event that I wanted to share with the audience, what had happened to me, unaddressed issues, what did it look like? And then what was the tools I used to get out? And that's where I could share with other people how I got out. My story may not be your story, but these are the tools I use. And that's just to encourage, maybe you don't go the direct route I did, you go to a different route, but we all come to the same destination, which is healing.
Yes, I love that, Bobby. That is so awesome. And thank you for sharing your story. I promise it's so inspirational. So I want to ask, why did you title it Under the Pink Canopy? What does that mean?
Okay. So let's go back to the film. The film is called The Pink Canopy.
Uh-huh.
So, and it's a pink canopy bed. That's what it means. It is. So in my displacement, which I mentioned before, I would receive hand-me-down clothes, shoes, hand-me-down beds. Or I slept with my mom. So when I was 9 years old, my mom was stable enough because my mom always liked nice furniture. Anytime we moved and she was stable, she would go and buy brand new furniture. And I mean, it wasn't used, nothing. It was just great. I'm sorry, I'm digressing. So she bought me this brand new pink canopy bed when I was 9 years old. Brand new. I did everything in that bed. Great imaginations. I stood in that bed and I thought that was my stage and the rest of the room was my audience and I would have a little concert. So, I mean, everything of that bed was dear to me. So that following year, my mom would take sick and she would, mental patients would refuse their medicine because they didn't think they were sick. And that was the battle too, growing up. She would stop taking her medicine. Well, this is the point. She stopped taking her medicine. And she was apprehended again, taken by force to the hospital. Okay. So when I came home, usually when I come home in the evenings from school, she's outside waiting on me. Rain, snow, below zero temperature, she was there. So this particular time, she was not there. And I knew something was going on with her. And I just knew she was taken by force. So I ran upstairs to the apartment, opened up the door. The house was ransacked. Evidently, the sheriffs must have came into the apartment to get her because she gave a fight because it was just tore up. So I ran into the bedroom and the top of the the canopy itself was gone. Wow. Exactly. Someone must have taken that opportunity to take the bed. So that just hurt me so bad. And when I fast forward to when I was trying to find a title for this film, the Lord titled it The Pink Canopy, because the canopy literally is a covering, right? But it was taken away. And then my mom, figuratively speaking and literal speaking, was my covering, but she was taken away. So that's why I titled the film The Pink Canopy. And then life under the pink canopy is my perils and my trauma underneath my mom. The unaddressed trauma what I seen when she had a mental breakdown or the residue that it caused. So that's the title.
That is such an awesome backstory and it makes so much sense. And I love all the metaphors you give in it as well, like the covering and it's just so interesting. I can't wait to read your book. Like I'm so inspired to read your book because I know it's going to bless me. So Bobbye, what would you tell someone else who may have or is experiencing the same thing? They're growing up with a parent who's struggling with mental health. What advice would you give to them to kind of get through it currently, and to the ones who have been through it but are still trying to heal from it? Like what advice would you give to them?
So for the first question, the one that's still dealing with it, knowledge is power. So I would educate myself on what the diagnosis is for that parent, the treatment is, and support them as much as you can, but also save space for you because you might be the caretaker.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you need to have like a safe space so you can heal as well. Also, get a support system, family, friends, and learn as much as, like I said before, learn as much as you can about that disease and know you're not alone. There's support groups out there that just, supports people who like dealing with a parent with mental illness or a sibling. There's support groups out there. Secondly, if that parent, if that disease is causing you trauma, unaddressed, urge you to also seek counseling, because it shows up later in life as anxiety. It shows up later in life as like discouragement. Also, it's like, and then so a lot of people, when I did my story, again, knowledge is power. They just assumed, since my mom had mental illness, it was going to come, and they asked me, "Are you dealing with mental illness?" I'm
Right.
like, "No, I am not. I'm not," because
Right.
mom wasn't always sick, and I'm not. I don't want to claim that over me. And I do a self check with me and my brothers, because we're not blind to the fact. Yes, she is mentally ill. We do a self check. How you doing? How you think about that? How's your mental health? Do you need help? Do you need support? I would say, like I said before, find support groups, do your research on the disease, and then, it's okay not to be okay.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's great advice that you just said. It's okay to not be okay, and it's okay to seek help. Seeking help doesn't lessen you in any kind of way. That's what the resources are here for. So with that being said, Bobbye, what would you tell the viewers? What is the benefit of healing? What is the benefit of seeking help?
Oh my gosh, to be the best self, to be your best self. That way you can turn around and help somebody else, to encourage somebody. You got a whole life in front of you, and certain things come just as a distraction to keep you off the path that God has chosen for you. That's a distraction. Unhealed self is a distraction.
Absolutely.
And that's what I would say. Just turn around, find help, confront the past, so you can be your best self, and you show up in life, happy. That weight is lifted. Literally, that weight is lifted. And I'm just thinking about myself. Once I just came to that healing place, I just felt lighter.
Yes.
And I wasn't ashamed. And I was happy to tell my story.
Yes.
To help somebody.
Yes. And I love that you said that, Bobbye, that I'm not ashamed, even though this happened, even though this was mom's story, and even though this happened to me and I was displaced and everything else, I'm not ashamed of my story.
I'm not ashamed.
And did you, when you say that, did it take your journey for you to get to that point, that for you to not be ashamed, or were you just always like this, or did you have to work on that to not be ashamed of your story?
It was a process.
Okay.
Because I'm from a small Des Moines, Iowa. It's small, and I have a huge family. And my mom was a school teacher in Iowa, where it was unheard of. And the point is, people knew my mom, so her mental illness was lived out loud. As some families hide their family in the back bedroom, shut the door. Mom was lived out loud. She was arrested in public. She was a school teacher, and she came from a family of 9. So everybody was whispering, "Oh, that's Gladys, the crazy one." So when I grew up, yes, there's some shame to it. Yes, you bow your head. Yes, you ran. There's a book called Running from Crazy, and I forgot the author. And this lady, if I knew her name, I'm talking about. Her parents, both of them, was mentally ill, and she kept running away from it, running from crazy. Wow. Until I couldn't run no more. Right. And I didn't want to leave this residue to my daughter. Yes. So I turned around and confronted, and I'm fine with it now. Because it's going to help. My story is going to help somebody.
Yes, help a lot of people. And I thank you so much, Bobbye, for sharing your story on the Deborah Franklin Conversations platform. So where can people, I know you mentioned it earlier, but where can people buy your book?
Absolutely. www.lifeunderthepinkcanopy.com.
And do you have any events coming up that you want to announce?
I don't have any events just yet. I came back from my book launch. I'm creating something here in Tennessee, another signing. Yes, but I'll keep everybody informed.
Well, congratulations on everything. You are such an inspiration. It was a pleasure.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. And I look so forward to everything that you have in store because you are a motivation and I just love you. Thank you so much. So that is going to be the end of our show. Before we close out, I want to give you one of my famous quotes that I always say, and do not aspire to be like them, but aspire to be like yourself at your best. All right. Thank you for watching and have a good rest of your night.